Today I have dog hair all over me. It's either cat hair or dog hair. It's one of the two. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Summer Meyers. I am a mom of 5 kids and we are homeschoolers. That's what we do and that's what we talk about on this channel. Last week I talked a little bit about going over your homeschool year and what are the important things to focus on. So if you haven't checked that part 1 out, I'll link it down below. This week, I am talking about our recap and what we did, what I found successful in our homeschool. And I thought I'd share. The thing with recapping and going over things that worked well with your homeschool, it's always a good idea to keep momentum going and progression. And what's the next thing you're gonna work on? Because if you want to continue doing that thing that worked well, it's always a great idea to have a goal in mind. The number one thing I think we really did well this year was hiking. It was something that I have always wanted to be more a part of our weekly schedule, is going out in nature and just hiking it out, because it's fabulous exercise. And 2, it just gets us out of the house and gets us away from our regular routine. Hiking is something that I have always really enjoyed. I love going out and finding waterfalls, and it's something that I really wanted my kids to take part of and really own. And at first they could only do like a mile and a half. And I had a 3-year-old, so she was like, little legs, little legs. But we were able to build up our endurance. And now I can confidently say, especially for my older kids, that they can do 5 miles, no sweat. And we started doing backpacking and camping and just more outdoors things. And so I really feel like that was so great for our homeschool and their ability to recognize things in nature and pointing things out and being more aware of their surroundings. And I'm really proud of how that turned out in our homeschool. I have a couple of videos of our hike. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll link that down below. It's a playlist. Actually, I think there's only 2 videos on there. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments and I'll film a couple more of those. Because we really enjoyed our hiking, I would like to continue that, but I need to have a goal that I can work towards. I think I would like to school more outside. For some reason, we used to do that quite a bit. We did it a lot our first 2 years of homeschool. And last year, we just didn't do it quite as much. I think it may have had something to do with the baby. And so next year, I would like to do that more often, where we just go grab our picnic basket, picnic blanket, and just lay out, spread out, grab a football, grab a frisbee, and just school outside more. Another thing I think we really did well this year was the library, funnily enough. So the library was closed for a good portion of our year, but at one point they opened it up so you could borrow books and put them on hold, and then they'd put them in these cute little brown bags and they'd set them out for you. And so you could go and pick them up without actually entering the library and touching everything and whatever. And this they did for all of their patrons. And my kids, man, they went ballistic, and also meant that they got really savvy at using the library website and finding those books that were interesting to them. I'm not kidding. We would come home with those big fat grocery bags filled with books, and we'd have like 3 or 4 of them. And most patrons came with their one little bag with their one little book. And my kids were like hauling. They'd have to do 2 or 3 trips to the little table where all the bags were waiting just to get all of our books into the car. Another thing I think we did really well was reading all of those books. The first time they brought back 4 bags filled with books, I was like, okay, I'm proud of you wanting to read all these. Is that attainable? I mean, is that something we can actually do in, the 2-week allotted time before we have to return these? And you guys, they did. They read all of those books. Not only that, they asked me to read books to them, and it became a huge family event, and we were able to return all of those books. I wanted to make sure that we were still borrowing a bunch to encourage us reading a bunch. So I went to Target and I found a bunch of bags. They're cheap. They were like $2.50 each, little tote bags. They were white. They were in the dollar section or whatever. And my kids had so much fun painting those and making them themselves. And I said, okay, we'll do the front side on one day, and then tomorrow we'll do the back side. We didn't get to it because they were so ready to use those bags, and they brought them all to the library and they all came back out with all those books. Plus side, I didn't have to carry all of them. I have my big Coca-Cola bag, and normally that is just like stuffed to the rafters, and I'm hauling it with Henry, and it's like, oh my gosh. So it was so nice for them to all have a bag. And in retrospect, it's even better because if they can't carry it, then I'm sorry, we can't borrow all of it. One thing that I think we can improve on for next year involving our library, I would like to do more of the events. So obviously they didn't have their regular story times, but they were putting out like craft things, little art kits and stuff. This summer they will have a reading challenge of some kind. So I'd like us as a homeschool to be more involved in what the library is putting out. They usually have great workshops and things for children. They also have contests like story time, like putting together your own story or book, picture contests, that sort of thing. So I think I would really like us to get more involved in that. I'd also like us to pick up back into doing school there at the library. That was one of my kids' favorite things to do was school at the library. We'd take our books, set up on a table quietly in the corner, and the kids that weren't doing school with me were allowed to just go and pick out a couple of books and sit on the couch, sit next to a window, and just read. And they loved that. And so I'm really excited to start doing that again for the following year. Another thing we did really well this year, I think, was our book lists. So past years, I have just not really worried too much because my kids were still rather young. And so last year, I really made an effort to make sure that the books that they were reading were books that we could discuss, that were high literature, that were living books, very much pulling on this idea of Charlotte Mason. And I think we did that really well. It was a huge stack of books that I had in our homeschool. And I said, did you do your 20-minute reading? And they would go, oh, okay. And they'd go grab their book and just read for 20 minutes. And after they had read their selection of books, I think they pretty much, it took them about just halfway through the year. It wasn't so many books that I was like super overwhelming. But I mean, it was a good 12, 15 stack of books. And my oldest, obviously, she finished it like, like that. There were a couple of books that took her a little bit longer. And then we went on a mommy and me date. And she asked that we could go get some sushi. And so we went and got some sushi and we just talked about books, talked about the books she read, books that she really loved, books that she was like, this was kind of boring, Mom. And getting that feedback back from her about the books that she really enjoyed was wonderful for me because that also gave me an idea for my upcoming 5th grader. So she's got one more year, but now I can readjust that list. So as my kids go up, I'll know kind of where they're at and what they need to do. They were also so excited for this idea of just a mommy and me time. With the book lists, it also expanded on what they usually read. So for each of my kids, they all gravitate towards, fairy tale books, fantasy books, it's usually a heroine, it's usually a girl power book, which, yeah, all about that. But with my book list, I really tried to expand it. So for my oldest, we were talking a lot more about civil rights and talking about, people who really changed America. And that was wonderful, good discussion books. And it was kind of outside of her realm of what she normally read. I also try to make sure that there's, some science fiction in there, that there is, a little bit of a biography, some nonfiction, sometimes some kind of life science book, something that kind of puts them out of their comfort zone. So some things that we can improve on. I think I could do better with discussion and also talking about comprehension. I used to think, just do a book report, write down a summary, what you liked, what you didn't like. And my kids are pretty happy to do those, but it wasn't challenging for them. And it also didn't make them really think about the book. So I found some really great curriculum book, and I will talk about that in a future video, that really pushes this idea of comprehension and little projects that they can do with book discussion and after finishing a book. And so I'm excited to kind of delve into that and really pushing the boundaries on what it means to like a book and what impact it has on us. Another thing that I think we did really well this year was our morning routine. I really loved that all of my kids just knew immediately to come into my bedroom and we all snuggled in bed and we were able to read our Bible and that we were able to discuss God's word first thing in the morning. We looked at our calendar and things that were happening that week and also the weather, so we knew how to dress. And it just was a great way to start our day and get us going and get us in the framework of here's another school day. And it was also a really easy way to jump back into school. So after we took like a week break or, Christmas break or whatever it was, I knew that I was like, okay, we're going to do our morning routine today. As soon as we started doing that morning routine, maybe 2-3 days in, we were back completely to where our schedule was. And I feel like that's usually a big struggle for a lot of homeschool families after they've been off the wagon for a little bit to get back on into your school day. Having a solid morning routine just kind of clicks your brain back into, oh, this is what we do next, and this is how we do it. If you're interested in my morning routine, I've also linked that down in the description box. Something that we could improve on for our morning routine, I would really love to incorporate singing into it. That was something that I loved as a kid. I really would like to just pick out a couple of really fun songs that we could sing together. In fact, YouTube has lots of really good children's songs that have, you know, the like a sing-along at the very bottom where you can sing along as the words play. I think that would be great for literacy for young kids. So I'm thinking about putting together a playlist for that, and maybe I'll put that on my channel. If you are interested in that, let me know. So I think that's what we're going to try to do for our next year for a morning routine. I think we did really well with chores this year. My kids knew, okay, it's morning time. I need to do the dishes. I need to clean the counters. I did not have to remind them very often. And the thing is, they have gotten really good at it. Like, it's really easy for me to say, go clean the kitchen. And guys, it's spotless. So it's like really, really good. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even have to do anything. And if I had to improve on something, it is not to abuse that magical ability of getting my kids to do something. I think it was partly because there are so many of them and they're all doing something and they all know what their job is and they're just happy little voices and they're doing it in the morning. And very rarely did I have to intervene or be like, guys, you need to fix this up a little bit. So I think we really did well on that. I think if we were to improve on that, maybe carry that out into an afternoon set of chores, because we had really good morning chores, but by the afternoon, the house just needs to be picked up, just tidied. Because there's so many of us, it is very easy for everything to come out and very hard for everything to go back in. So those are some of the things that I feel like we did really well for this year. I know a lot of it, actually none of it is curriculum, and I find that to be a little bit intentional because I don't want you guys to think that our year was so great because of resources that we have bought and done. It was good, but it's because I found what works for our kids. I do have reviews if that is something you are interested in, but I didn't want to like rehash what we did this year. Things that I really love and dedicate to, those are the things I've reviewed. And so you can find those down below. So that is it. That is what I feel like we did really well. And I'm really proud of my kids. I'm really proud of the people that they are becoming and their love for God and their love for family. And I'm just really proud of them. I'm proud of where our year is at. Feeling good. That's always a good place to be. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below. I talk about homeschool pretty much every single week because that's what I am passionate about and what I love. So if that interests you, hang out with me. We have things to talk about. Take it easy, guys. Bye.